Ariel Gumataotao's husband, Brian, suffered from pounding headaches, and at first, the family thought it might be COVID-19. The local couple at the time lived in the San Francisco Bay Area. Ariel says her husband kept getting worse as doctors ran test after test, eventually finding a plum-sized tumor in Brian's brain. He was diagnosed with a rare and aggressive form of cancer and underwent a surgery that was supposed to pave the way for his chemotherapy treatment. But sadly, Brian never made it to chemo.
I got a phone call saying that Brian was having trouble breathing, that they're transporting him to the hospital. And then not even an hour later, I got a phone call that he was gone.
Ariel says after Brian's death, she wanted to honor his wish and bring him back home to Guam. His body was put on a plane, and Ariel and their son Caleb also flew back home. Ariel said she did all the paperwork to apply for a hardship exemption from public health's mandatory quarantine so that she could meet Brian at the airport and welcome him home. She told KUAM News that instead of help, she was hurt by someone named Sam with public health.
So I wanted my 3-year-old, my son Caleb, and I to be there to welcome him home. And he basically told me, he's like, is there anybody else who can welcome your husband home? And I'm like, that like stabbed my heart. I was like, I literally told him, I'm like, or asked him, I'm like, how would you feel if you lost your wife or child and somebody else is going to welcome them home?
Ariel was allowed to greet Brian at the airport, but she wasn't released to home isolation. She was instead sent back to quarantine at the Dusatani in Tumon.
I'm not gonna lie, I've broken in this room quite a few times to the point where like I really wish I could break things in this room, because before I got here, I was so busy. I literally had to pack up my entire household in like a week, sell stuff, decide whether I'm gonna keep things of him or donate. And then to just come in this room and it's so quiet and I can't do anything but try and plan a funeral over a computer, it's hard, like it breaks you.
And while Ariel is supposed to be able to get out of quarantine with a negative COVID test on what would be her 6th day at the Dusit, she says she shared her story so that others will know what to expect when they try and get a hardship exemption. She calls the process broken, and she cited the inconsistencies with the exemptions being granted by public health.
They need a better system and to be fair with everybody. Like it shouldn't matter who you are.
Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Jason Salas.